General Shepard is one of the most hated names in Call of Duty. He wasn't the enemy you fought from the start. He wasn't a distant villain like Makarov. He was our commanding officer. We trusted him, we followed his orders, we fought his war, and then he turned his gun on us. He executed Ghost and Roach, burnt their bodies, and tried to erase Task Force 141 from the books. But here's the thing, Shepard didn't see himself as the villain, he saw himself as the saviour. He believed he was writing himself into the history books as the man who would restore America's pride after its greatest military humiliation. Today, we're going to break down who Shepard really was, why he betrayed Task Force 141, and how the missions of Modern Warfare 2 quietly set up his plan long before that knife landed in his eye. Before we get started, I'd just like to mention that I did put a poll out on YouTube asking you which lore video did you want to watch next, either the General Shepard video and why he betrayed Task Force 141, or why I believe that Makarov is the GOAT villain of Call of Duty. And at the time of this recording, 81% voted for General Shepard. So here you go, this is the video. I hope you do enjoy. And I also did mention that I'm going to dive into a couple zombie theories as well. So if that's something you want to see, drop a like and a comment and let me know. But yep, enjoy the video. To understand Shepard's betrayal, you have to go back to Modern Warfare 1. In the mission Shock and Awe, a nuclear device detonates in the Middle East, and that explosion kills 30,000 US Marines in an instant.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking. We're in for some chop. Hang on. Check in next hour. All U.S. forces be advised. We have a confirmed nuclear threat in the city. NEST teams are on site and attempting to disarm. I repeat, we have a confirmed Everyone, hang on!
That number, 30,000, becomes Shepard's obsession. For him, it isn't just a military tragedy, it's a humiliation. America, the superpower of the world, was embarrassed on a global stage. His Marines didn't just die, they were wasted, gone without victory, gone without purpose in an instant. Shepard internalizes that failure. From that point on, his worldview hardens. In his eyes, America must never look weak again. He must be the one to orchestrate a conflict big enough to restore America's dominance, and most importantly, he must be remembered as the one who made it happen. This is the root of his betrayal. Shepard isn't insane, he's a man who confuses revenge for patriotism. He believes that the ends justify the means. If 30,000 men had to die for America to reclaim its pride, then losing a few more, even his own soldiers, was a price worth paying. After the events of Modern Warfare 1, Shepard takes command of Task Force 141. On paper, 141 exists to counter global terror threats too dangerous for regular armies. With Soap, Ghost and Roach on the ground, and later Captain Price, this was an elite unit capable of surgical strikes. But to Shepard, they weren't just elite soldiers, they were pawns. He viewed them as tools he could point in any direction to get closer to the war that he wanted. And then there was Makarov, cold, ruthless and unpredictable. He was already destabilising the world on his own, and Shepard saw him as the perfect villain to play against. Makarov's brutality would give Shepard the fear, the chaos and the political will he needed to push America into another world war. So, Task Force 141 hunts Makarov, and while they believe they are stopping a terrorist, Shepard is really orchestrating the conflict. He's nudging events, making sure the war escalates, and keeping himself in the position to take credit when the dust settles. The pieces of Shepard's plan begin to fall in place early in Modern Warfare 2. In Cliffhanger, Task Force 141, more specifically Roach and Soap, infiltrate a Russian base and steal an ACS module, vital technology that protects US airspace. This theft creates a weakness, and one that will come back to haunt America during the Russian invasion. At the same time, Shepard is handpicking a young Marine, Private Joseph Allen, for an undercover assignment.
So how do I look?
Like one of the bad guys. Perfect for your undercover assignment.
So Makarov is the prize.
Makarov's no prize. He's a whore, a mad dog killer for the highest bidder. Just remember your new identity. It'll keep you alive. Welcome to the 141. Best hand-picked group of warriors on the planet.
It's an honor, sir. When do I meet the rest of the team?
Alan is inserted directly into Makarov's inner circle, but what Alan doesn't realise, and what Shepard never prevents, is that Makarov already knows that he's American. This leads to one of the most infamous missions in Call of Duty history, No Russian. Alan joins Makarov in a Russian airport massacre. At the end, his body is left behind, a calling card that reveals to the world that the Americans were behind it. Shepard lets this happen. He doesn't stop it, he doesn't warn anyone, and in the aftermath, the exact war that he wanted begins. Russia invades America, cities burn, soldiers die, and the world spins towards global war. For everyone else, it's absolute tragedy, but for General Shepard, it's the opportunity of a lifetime. When the Russians strike the east coast, it's chaos. In Wolverines, you fight through a suburban neighbourhood under attack. In Exodus, US forces are pushed back, barely holding ground, and of their own accord, Washington DC is in flames. The White House itself becomes a battlefield. These missions show the scale of America's collapse. It looks like they're losing the war. But for Shepard, this is the perfect storm. The invasion provides the political justification he needs to build his own private army, shadow company, and consolidate power. He's even given a blank check. Here's what Shepard doesn't want though. Anyone else solving the crisis before him. He cannot risk Task Force 141 stealing the spotlight off him, and that's why the next missions are so important, because Shepard starts taking steps to quietly sabotage 141. In the mission, the Gulag, Task Force 141 is ordered to extract a prisoner from a massive Russian prison complex. That prisoner turns out to be none other than Captain Price himself. But watch carefully how the operation unfolds. Shepard orders the Navy to begin their bombardment early, while 141 is still inside the prison.
Bravo 6, be advised. They started the bombardment early. Get the hell out of there now.
Explosions rip the building apart, walls collapse, and soldiers scramble to survive. Now, Shepard doesn't take direct blame. In fact, that he says that the Navy aren't in a talking mood, but deep down, we know his true intentions.
Hostile in the prison cell, left side. I have a target. Tango down.
Shepard, what the hell was that? Get the Navy to cease fire!
The Navy isn't in a talking mood right now. Stand by.
At best, it's reckless command, and at worst, it's a thinly veiled attempt to wipe out 141 under the cover of chaos. If Soap, Roach and Ghost had died in the Gulag, it would have been written off as the cost of war, and with Price gone too, Shepard would have one less wildcard to deal with. Now, Price isn't one to follow orders blindly. In Contingency, he takes matters into his own hands, hijacking a Russian submarine and launching a nuclear missile into the upper atmosphere.
Christ, are you there? The silo doors are open on the sub! I repeat, the silo doors are opening on the sub! Christ, come in! They're opening the silo doors on the sub! Come on, hurry! Christ, do you copy? The silo doors are open! I repeat, the silo doors are open!
Good.
Wait, Christ, no! We have a nuclear missile launch! Missile in the air! Missile in the air! Code black! Code black!
The detonation creates an EMP over the eastern seaboard, disabling electronics and halting the Russian advance. The mission, Second Son, shows the fallout as plane drops from the sky and the US capital goes completely dark. But despite the devastation, Price's gamble buys America valuable breathing room. Shepard absolutely hates this. Why? Because it undermines his narrative. If Price is the one who saves America with his plan, then Shepard isn't the hero. Shepard needs to control the solution, and this rogue move makes him look weak. That's why he tries to stop Price from ever launching the missile.
General Shepard, you're online with Captain Price.
Back from the brink, Captain.
Out of the frying pan is more like it. This world looks more like hell than the one I just left.
We thought we'd recovered the ACS before the Russians could crack it. We were wrong. Then Makarov turned the US into his scapegoat. Next thing you know, there's flames everywhere. What's this image you're sending me?
You want to put out an oil fire, sir? You set off a bigger explosion right next to it. Sucks away the oxygen, snuffs the flame.
Price, you've been locked away too long. Better get your mind right, son.
Shepard, are you willing to do what is necessary to win?
Always.
We got ourselves a pretty big fire. Gonna need a huge bang.
You've been in the Gulag too long, Price. Focus on taking out Makarov.
No time, sir. We need to end this war today.
I'm not asking you, Price. This is an order. You're to...
Looks like we lost our connection.
It all comes to a head in the mission Loose Ends. Task Force 141 raids Makarov's safe house and downloads the DSM, a treasure trove of intel that could expose Makarov and end the war. This should have been a victory. Instead, it's where Shepard makes his betrayal clear. He arrives with his own shadow company, takes the DSM, and as we all know, executes Ghost and Roach on the spot.
Make sure they're down. Roger, I'm on it. Coming around, heading 250. Roger, I got it lined up. Gold Eagle's on the ground. Watch for snipers on thermal. Over.
You have the DSM. We got it, sir.
Good. That's one less loose end.
Area is sanitized. All targets destroyed. Solid copy. No movement detected. 2-6 going into holding pattern.
Burns their bodies and erases their names. This isn't just about silencing them, it's about control. Shepard takes the intel, claims it as his own, and positions himself as the man who cracked Makarov's network. By eliminating 141, he removes witnesses who could connect the dots. Alan's death and no Russian, the rushed Gulag assault, or the resistance to Price's plan. With Shadow Company loyal only to him, Shepard no longer needs Task Force 141. Again, as I said, they were useful pawns, but now they're liabilities. To understand Shepard's philosophy on all this, you have to remember that number, 30,000. In his mind, the men who died in Modern Warfare 1 weren't just casualties, they were absolutely wasted. He promised himself that their deaths wouldn't be meaningless. So he creates meaning. He engineers a war, makes himself the hero, and decides who lives and who dies. To Shepard, sacrificing Task Force 141 is a small price if it means that America rises again and he goes down as the general who made it happen. That's what makes his betrayal so painful. He wasn't an outsider like Makarov, he wasn't a foreign enemy, he was our commander, and when he pulled the trigger on Ghost and Roach, it wasn't just characters dying, it was our trust being shattered. Of course, as we know, Shepard's plan doesn't go the way he expects. Price and Soap survive and track him down to his Afghan base in the mission just like old times. The mission plays like a revenge tour, pushing deeper into Shepard's fortress until the final confrontation in the mission endgame. In the finale, Soap is stabbed, Price grapples with Shepard, and in one of the most iconic moments in the entire series, the player pulls the knife from Soap's chest and throws it directly into Shepard's eye. The man who wanted to be remembered as a hero dies as one of gaming's most infamous traitors. So, why did General Shepard betray Task Force 141? Because he needed a war big enough to restore America's pride, and because he needed to be the one who solved it no matter the cost, and also because Task Force 141 were too independent, too effective, and too likely to expose the truth. And because in Shepard's mind, sacrificing a few men was nothing compared to the glory of saving a nation. It wasn't loyalty that drove him, it was ego. Ego dressed up as patriotism. And if you look back, the signs were there all along. In the mission to Gulag, he orders the Navy to strike early while 141 is still inside. In Contingency, he tries to stop Price from launching the EMP. In Loose Ends, he finally betrays us and executes Ghost and Roach. And in The Enemy of My Enemy, he orders Shadow Company to try and eliminate Soap and Price. Shepard's betrayal wasn't sudden, it was a pattern of silencing anyone who stood in the way of his narrative. General Shepard isn't terrifying because he's insane, he's terrifying because he's believable. A man so consumed by grief and ego that he justifies anything in the name of saving America. And that's why his betrayal still hurts to this day. He wasn't a villain from the outside, he was the man we trusted, the man who turned his gun on us. So, what do you think? Is Shepard the most hated villain in Call of Duty history? Or does that title belong to someone like Makarov or Menendez? Let me know in the comments. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Again, this was requested by you, so I've tried to, make the story as easy to understand as possible on why he betrayed Task Force 141. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you wouldn't mind dropping a like and subscribe, and even a comment just on your theories around the General Shepard and his motives, then I will gladly read them and reply in due time. But yeah, the support has been absolutely unbelievable. I just want to say a massive thank you to anyone who has subscribed recently. You mean the absolute world to me, and I'll see you in the next one.